I spent 24 years in and out of therapy. I've been an inpatient 6 different times and in one long-term facility as well. I have a lot of experience with therapy. I'm a tiny bit biased about my experience with it, but that's okay. So today I have just one question for Jay, and hopefully I don't need any more because I only have one. So Jay, does therapy actually work? Before you answer the question, I just want the audience to know the reason why I'm asking you this question. Because you're not a therapist, you're not a doctor, you're not in that realm. But after 24 years of therapy with no help and no improvement at all,
I'm a healer, Sin.
You are a healer. You are. I came to you after years and years of painful, horrible mental health issues. And after all that stuff, all the times in therapy, in and out of the hospitals, no one could help me. No one could heal me. No one could make me any better in any way. In fact, every time I was inpatient, I got worse. So I came to you because when I met you, you helped me. You helped me cure my anxiety, my depression, my bipolar, my self-talk, my on and on and on. I don't even have all day because we only have an hour podcast. And I would be here listing everything you've helped me heal through the entire hour if I could. This is why I'm here to ask you, does therapy actually work?
Yeah, so like I said, I feel like it's a common question people are curious about.
Agreed.
But if you think about it at all deeper, it hopefully becomes quite obvious that it's the same as anything else. Does a mechanic always work?
No, does not.
Does a mechanic sometimes work?
Yes.
Right. Does a caterer or a chef always work?
Sometimes. Sometimes, yes.
Yeah. Does a teacher always work?
Sometimes, yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People act like therapy is some kind of special discipline or special skill or something that either works or it doesn't. It's a thing that works or it doesn't. But just like mechanics and chefs and carpenters or whatever else, sometimes they get the job done and sometimes they don't. Sometimes you find a good one, sometimes you find a crappy one. It's not really about labeling therapy as something that works or doesn't. The same way you wouldn't label carpentry as something that works or doesn't. Like, it's just a weird sort of approach or stance or understanding of the discipline. The thing about disciplines and skills is they just exist. They're not up for debate. Does this skill or discipline work or not work? Everybody understands this is a skill or a discipline, and you either work it or you don't work it. You either apply it or you don't apply it. You either are a master of it or clueless about it, or in between. And so everyone sort of gets that for most of these skills. But then when it comes to therapy, they abandon that and they're like, does it work or does it not work? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people think that therapy is a magic pill. Like I see it a lot on Reddit and on X when people are talking about mental health issues. The first answer is always, do you have a therapist? Do you have someone to talk to? Do you how long have you been in therapy? Oh my God, are you on meds? Like, it's the magic bullet, right?
Sure, but imagine if you had the same conversation about a car and a mechanic.
Right.
Someone hops on Reddit, my car is making a noise.
Mm-hmm.
Is the comment thread's going to be, oh, do you have a mechanic? How long have you had a mechanic?
Yeah.
How often do you go to your mechanic?
Yeah, fair play. It's the first. It's like when your tech is down, they say, did you unplug it? Did you restart it? Okay. Fair play.
Yeah. The thing is, for reasonably grown adults to look at a discipline or a skill like therapy and then treat it as a magic pill that either works or it doesn't when you take it, it's peculiar. Like, you would never do that with a chef cooking meals or catering an event, or a carpenter building a house for you, or a mechanic building a car. You would know it might work, it might not. It really depends on if I hired the right one and how skillful they are and did they have a bad day on the job and all this kind of stuff, right? Like, there would be a healthy, appropriate attitude towards this skill and this discipline and hiring someone or collaborating with someone in that arena. And so you would hope people would be able to apply that for the discipline and skill of therapy.
Yeah, but they don't. So why?
Well, you tell me. Like, to me, that's kind of a strange thing to do.
It is.
I wouldn't do that.
No, well, you're strange.
No, I mean, I wouldn't do that with any skill or anything.
I know. I'm just teasing you. Yes, I know. No, it is weird. It's really weird to to behave like that. So that's why I said they think it's like a magic pill. So it's what they reach for, right?
Sure. But if you use your eyes, you know it's not a magic pill. It's
Right.
a skill or a discipline like every other skill on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough.
Some people are trained in it and talented in it and masterful at it and adept in it and able to generate massive results. But just like any skill, even the best carpenter can't help a stubborn client who forces him to use the wrong foundation.
True.
So results may vary.
Results may vary. Yeah.
Like any skill.
Yeah. That would be a nice little disclaimer that people could add to when they talk about therapy. Results may vary.
But why do results vary? If you want to build a house and you want to hire a carpenter, how do you ensure that it goes smoothly and well and you get the result you want? How do you ensure your carpenter doesn't take you for a ride and scam you and waste all your time and money? How do you make sure the house lasts forever and the foundation's amazing? How do you make sure the carpenter is top tier? Right?
Those are good questions. So just off the top of my head, if it was me, if when we're going to build our home, I would go to someone I know. I would ask for recommendations. I would ask people when they do recommend someone, what's their track record? Did they help you? Did they help you complete the goal? Did they, this would, yeah.
Yeah. So that's really interesting because I would not do that.
Really?
I find recommendations to be terrible. Like even my best friends or most talented people rarely hire the world's best. They're going to recommend whoever they manage to find in their lifetime. So they're going to recommend someone who's above average, but when I go work with them, am I going to get the world's best house? It's like, I won't, because who's out there recommending the world's best? Only billionaires and stuff. So if I want an amazing house, I have to do my own research and avoid recommendations.
Oh my God. Well, I'm glad you're in charge of building our house because then I would be doing it wrong.
Well, recommendations still matter and they still play a role. And I would try to lean on them eventually, like factor them into my calculations, but they would be lower down on the totem pole than assessing a carpenter's track record on my own and observing their work and talking to people they've worked with or their clients and stuff, like getting my own research, my own boots on the ground research and data. Maybe I would hang out in the carpentry subreddits and learn what makes a good carpenter and learn what carpenters hate about bad carpenters and all this kind of stuff. I would immerse myself in the world. And if you immerse yourself in the world, that's when you can start making really wise decisions.
Now you guys can see why I dropped everything to follow this man, because clearly I don't know how to make good life decisions on my own.
No, it's all good. Even if I wanted to hire some undiscovered, unknown, like intern or scout out some new talent, I would still need to immerse myself in the world of carpentry to know what to look for and what to spot. And the reason people take recommendations is because they don't want to do everything I just outlined.
They do not. Yes.
It sounds like way too much work.
Yeah, but you had a point though before, because they don't want to do the work either, and they took someone else's recommendation.
Yeah, well, you get out of it what you put into it. And if you're gonna be lazy and just farm out and delegate the work to whoever's close by or whoever your friend recommends, you're gonna get a result to match. So it depends on how important things are to you. If my haircut isn't that important to me, I'll just ask a friend to recommend a barber. If I'm building a custom house that's going to last me for years and it's really important to me, then I'm probably not going to just ask a friend, hey, what's the best carpenter you know?
Okay, fair play, yeah.
Right. So bringing it back to therapy, if you just ask a friend to refer you to a therapist, that's fine, but you're treating your mental health as not very important because you don't want to do the work, you're delegating the decision, and you're just going to take whoever's nearby, whoever's recommended, and they're going to be slightly above average because they were recommended by a slightly above average person and a slightly above average friend who found a slightly above average therapist. They're not going to be world class. They're not going to be the world's best. They're not going to be undiscovered talent. They're just going to get the job done.
Right.
They got the job done for your friend and your friend is thrilled. And now they're going to get the job done for you. And so maybe that's fine, right? It depends on your standards. Depends how high your standards are for your mental health.
Yeah, fair play.
And so does therapy work? Well, it works as well as the person you hired can do. And it works as well as you cooperate or participate. Because like I said, even the world's best carpenter is going to build a crappy house with some stubborn client who forces him to use cotton candy as a foundation.
Well, so that's interesting because I never looked at myself as a patient before. I have talked crap about therapists and my experience with therapy and my ex-therapist on here a bunch of times, but I've never looked at myself as a patient, right? I never looked at what did I, again, taking personal responsibility for myself and doing the things like admitting when I'm wrong. And so I can't believe I'm here admitting this, but here we are, that I wasn't the best patient.
Yeah, it's a good admission, because if you were to examine the majority of the population, you would find that they're obsessed with finding the best carpenter, best chef, best therapist. Meanwhile, they are nightmare clients, nightmare patients, and nightmare students who no one could teach, heal, or build for.
See, every time, I've said it. I didn't say it on the last podcast we filmed, but it's true, because we just filmed a podcast where I had a whole bunch of questions and we didn't touch any of them because we talked about completely different way. And so again, I think you're going to zig and you zag. And okay, I'm admitting that I was a terrible patient. I was unhealable, unteachable, uncoachable, etc., etc. And my therapist, perhaps after 18 years, when I asked the question of when am I going to get better, possibly he was at his wit's end and was over it and was like, never. You're a terrible patient, but he didn't say the part he should have, which was, you're a terrible patient. You haven't actually put any love or time or effort into your healing whatsoever. You've come into my office demanding, not once, many times, demanding to feel better, demanding that he give me answers, demanding that he fix me. All right, bro, I owe you an apology wherever you are. I'm not going to say your name on our podcast, but I'm sorry. It's my bad.
Yep. Great awareness. Great job. And taking it further, all of this population of people who are just bad clients and bad patients and bad students, what are they going to attract, right? It's two sides of the same coin. If you're a shit patient, are you going to partner up with the world's best teacher and they'll stick by you and make sure you get a good result? Or are they just going to be like, I don't think we're a fit, man? Like,
yeah, you're going to get a shitty teacher and they're not going to be interested in helping you. And if you are lucky enough to stumble across the best, it's not going to work out. Something will happen.
You're going to lose them.
Yeah.
Right. And you'll end up with a substandard, subpar teacher or healer or therapist or coach to match your level of cooperation, your level of receptivity.
Yeah.
So does therapy work? Right? The question itself is kind of off base, unanswerable.
At the end of every Narcotics Anonymous meeting, they say, it works if you work it, keep coming back. And I just now finally understood, like, really, I mean, I understood the words because I'm not an idiot, but I get it. Like, it works if you work it, if you work the steps, if you work the therapy, if you do the things, just like the things I did with you.
Yeah, same with everything we teach on the podcast. Yeah. Every episode, it works if you work it.
Yeah, it works if you work it, keep coming back.
Yeah, but how many people are going to work it?
Not many.
So then?
They don't keep coming back.
Yeah, and then you got a whole population of people who are whining that it didn't work.
Therapy sucks, and therapy is hard, and therapy doesn't work, and therapy is this, and...
Yeah, or don't trust mechanics. You can never hire a good one. It never works out.
That's another thing. Actually, one of the things that I have, the moment someone tells me they're a therapist, or they know a therapist, or they're friends with a therapist, I have a biased opinion already immediately. The moment when my son told me he was in therapy, I had all of these preconceived notions about the therapist and who she was, who she is, and what she does. And I had a call with her, and I was pleasantly surprised at her thoughts on personal development, and that she teaches my son visualization. I was blown away. So yeah, it's your tools, and your therapist is your tool, right? And so if you pick a bad one or you have a crappy one, then of course it's crap if you're not working it. So yeah, my mind is blown right now. So I'm so sorry if I'm like, I feel like the emoji again, right? The emoji. And because I never once, with all my personal development and all of my self-help and all of our teachings and all of the times that we've spent together, I never once looked at myself and said, in this circumstance, like, you maybe were not the best person. And I was really mean and hateful back then. And with my therapist, I was even more so because I trusted him. And so I was never on my best behavior.
Which is weird, because you would think with the people you trust, you would be on your best behavior. But for some reason, a lot of people mistreat the people they trust the most. And they just get sloppy and lazy. And they're like, I don't need to be on my best behavior. I can treat this person like crap. And then they lose the people they trust and have conflict with them. And it's like, well, yeah, you were treating them worse than strangers.
It's true. It's true. When you're a parent, you feel like this often. Like, I would hear from my kids' friends or teachers or parents of their friends how polite and kind and nice my kids were and how helpful they were. And I was like, where are these children? These are the things I've taught them, but they're not showing me this, because they were doing what most kids do. They were pooping on their parents because they trusted us the most and didn't give us the respect and love that they gave the rest of the world.
Sure. But where did they learn to respect strangers and disrespect close family and friends?
From us.
Right. So if you modeled something different for them, what would they have done? If you showed them to trust and respect family and friends and actually be a bit more guarded and a bit less kind and respectful to strangers, they would have learned the reverse, no?
They would have, yes. But what I showed them was, when we leave the house and we're around strangers, we are on our best behavior. We're kind. We are nice. We're polite. We are mannerly. We are dressed as nice as possible. And then when we walk in the door, we throw all that stuff on the ground and we don't care. And then we start yelling at each other and go away and you're a jerk and I'll go hide in the bathroom and you guys go do whatever you feel like. And massive lack of respect for each other inside the house.
So that's what they learned.
Where were you like 20 years ago?
Working on myself.
I wish I taught my kids all these things.
That's okay. We can teach your grandkids.
Yeah, I really need to do that, because today she punched Papa. I don't want her to disrespect us. I don't want another generation to learn this.
I know. So it's a good chance to teach her, because she's got to test her limits. That's what kids do.
Yes.
And they need to see consequences and what happens when you do X, Y, and Z in the world, and cause and effect and action and reaction. And these are important things to learn. And, if you kick a dog, it might bite you back. If you insult a family or friend, there could be some kind of unpleasant repercussions. I don't know. It's just a learning opportunity, teaching opportunity. Learning and teaching are two sides of the same coin. Sickness and health are two sides of the same coin, or healing. Coachability and coaching are two sides of the same coin. And you kind of need to be good at both if you're going to engage with this stuff, or at least have an understanding of both.
Right.
And so for me to teach well, I must be a good student. And for me to learn quickly, I must be able to teach well, or at least understand what the teacher's trying to do and cooperate with them, or understand what the student's trying to do and cooperate with them.
Yeah, you're an excellent student as well as a teacher. So, yeah. Well, this is really helpful for me. I feel a little annoyed with myself that I hadn't realized this sooner, that especially in a time of my life where I was doing a lot of drugs and I was a completely different person and I was very cruel to people who I was close to any chance I had, as long as it got me what I wanted. And I did not limit that to just my family. My therapist very much dealt with a lot of that crap. And even so much so that when I stopped therapy, I hadn't seen him in a while, and I needed a therapy report for immigration for my ex-husband, and he didn't hesitate to fill it out and didn't charge me for the session and helped me out. So now I feel really bad, but having been a poor student or a poor patient with a not so great therapist wasn't very helpful. And I guess if I put more love into trying to heal, then it might have worked. It might have done something.
Yeah. Or you might have attracted a different kind of therapist because of your vibe. Like, you might be showing up 8 weeks in a row and you're like, I've been trying to heal, man. I've been doing good work. I've been cooperating, and I don't know if this guy's a fit for me. I'm going to let him go and find a new therapist. But that circumstance can't happen until you put in the work to be a good healer, a good patient first.
Well, yeah, that makes total sense.
If you just go through the motions and stay a shit patient, then you'll just blame your therapist and you'll get stuck with the same therapist. So whether he was awesome or so-so or terrible, we won't ever really know, because you won't discover it until you step up and become a good patient first.
Well, it's interesting because I didn't do that until I met you. And so having the greatest teacher alive guiding you without anything but love and support and kindness and just being so open with me was super helpful for my healing, right? And it could have been I was ready, or, I had a thing for you, so I was more open. I don't know. But if I had given my therapist the same chance as I gave your teachings and your whatever you were telling me at the time, then maybe I would have been better sooner. So this is really good. This is really helpful. So the answer to does therapy work? There's a whole lot of stuff behind that.
Yeah, but it's also simple, because it's the same answer as does carpentry work, or does nursing work, or does anything work? Does any skill or discipline work?
Well, I'd even go as far as like when a cancer patient is asking the same thing about their treatment. Depends. Like, so my cousin, I watched her go through it, and the first time she continued to eat the way she was before, and she was a crappy patient, and she went to the thing with bad attitude, and this isn't going to work, and it didn't work. And then after a whole bunch of times, I think the last few times, she started eating healthy, and she started going with the attitude of, you know what, I don't care if I live or die. I'm just going to do this, and I hope it works, and it was a much better attitude, and she was a much better patient. And after she changed all that, she went into remission. She didn't go into remission until she became a better patient.
Yeah, lots of people have cured cancer with that kind of approach, positive attitude. I think Norman Vincent Peale wrote a whole book on it. Laughter is the best medicine, or how to cure cancer with laughter, or something. But there's tons of cases out there.
Right. There it's true. Well, but it makes sense, because if you are putting in crap, of course you're going to get out crap. Mm-hmm. And so if I'm going to therapy every freaking week where I'm impatient, and the whole time I'm impatient, I'm throwing things at people, I'm constantly getting thrown in solitude, I'm constantly getting my meds upped or getting PRNs, which is like as you need, they sedate you. And if I'm constantly doing all these things, how can I get better? How can I get the juice out of the therapy? I couldn't. Impossible.
Yep. What you bring to it is what you get out of it.
Right.
Same for everybody in everything.
So
if you show up to a job site with a crappy attitude, you're not going to get a great house at the end of it.
Okay. So then how can the people, because I'm not an advocate for therapy. I don't agree with it. I don't believe in it.
I mean, you do it every week.
But I say that, yet I'm here in your chair, every single week. I am throwing myself out into the universe, all of my scars and all, to be shown to the world, to help myself and help other people. And this is still therapy. This is what I did. The only difference is I'm a better patient. I have a better teacher, a better healer, a better therapist, if you will. And I am also way more open to the things you say. I'm not, the moment you say something that annoys me or I might disagree with, I don't jump down your throat anymore.
Yeah, smart.
So I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah. I don't recommend jumping down someone's throat who's trying to heal you or assist you or uplift you or contribute to you or serve you in some way. It's a very strange response. So I'm glad you don't do that.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question then, and we're going to call it therapy, but yeah, it's still therapy, whatever.
Well, it doesn't matter. Like therapy is just a word to describe healing the mind, and medicine is just a word to describe healing the body.
Right.
And communion or absolution or religion, or I don't know what you want to call it, shamanism, is just a word to describe healing with spirit or your energy or your attitude or like something beyond the body and the mind.
Right.
And every human being is made up of this trinity. We are all made up of a body and a mind and a spirit, or some invisible higher power energy that we call a soul or something. And when you run out of cures for the body and cures for the mind, you'll find people turning to cures for the spirit, cures for the soul. And then they'll finally make some progress in curing the soul, and it will have impact in their life and benefits and positive results. And then they'll become converts, and they'll start swearing to everyone that you have to change your spirit and you have to embrace this and embrace that, and it's going to heal you, because they had no progress healing the body and healing the mind until they healed the spirit. But other people might be energetically okay, and their energy is fine and their spirit is fine, and maybe even they're mentally positive, but their body is not. There's some affliction and there's some issue with the body, and they need actual medicine or actual cures or actual remedies from doctors or medicine men or something like that. And then still other people, their body will be troubling them and they try to fix it with a million different body things and it never works. And then they try some spiritual things and that doesn't work. And turns out they needed to heal their mind because it was stressed and then manifesting as a bodily issue. And so you see that the Trinity all plays together. They're all related. They're all connected. And when you have a disease or of some kind in one of the levels, it might be cured on that particular level, or it might have roots in one of the other levels. And so this confuses people because they're like, I tried every medicine and it didn't work. And it's like, yeah, dude, it's in your mind. Like, this is a mental level, it has a mental root. And then some people will be like, I did therapy and I fixed my affirmations and my mind is fine. I don't understand what's happening. It's like, yeah, because you don't believe in a higher power and you haven't tuned into your spirit and you're out of touch with your soul. And so it has a spiritual root. And some people will confuse one level for the other, or they'll think they should be working on their mind when they should really be addressing it from a physical perspective, and so on. And so therapy is just healing of the mind, and doctoring is just healing of the body, and shamanism or spirituality is just healing of the spirit or the energy. And so people ascribe so much importance to these words, and they're like, what is it? What does it mean? And what is therapy? And what is healing? And all this kind of stuff. And it's like, it's not that crazy, right? It's like you can fix a house at a foundational level, or you could fix it at a drywall level, or you could fix it at a feng shui level, right? Like it's not that serious. You just understand each term and each level, and you address things at the correct one. And if there's multiple connections between them, you might have to fix all of the aspects, but it's just not that serious. So doctoring, therapy, spirituality, to me, it's all just a form of healing, and it's really no big deal.
Well, all what you said just makes even more sense for me, because in the beginning, when we first met, I was super excited to work on my personal development and heal myself. But I found this weird thing happening at this very same time. Was I had a huge spiritual awakening. I used to believe a lot of different things about my religion and a spirituality and God and heaven and earth. And then as I began to heal with you, my being of value, being worthy, all these, the small steps in the beginning, my spiritual self, my spiritual awakening just exploded. And it was a lot. It was a lot at once. But it makes perfect sense because they needed to be healed together. One first, because the personal development kicked off the spirituality stuff, the spiritual side, because I was in a lot of pain in that aspect of my life too at the time. And I've not ever really talked about that, but it makes so much sense what you just said. So thank you for helping me understand. I mean, I never questioned it or wondered. I even mentioned it on this episode. A lot of people that are start personal development, they get a spiritual awakening and they start learning these other things, but that goes with exactly what you just said. So of course, if we have to heal other parts of us to get to the part that we really need to heal, of course, this makes total sense. I did not ever realize this before, though.
Well, it's a great realization. And my main point is really just therapists are like doctors, and shaman or spiritualists. They're just people out there trying their best to heal you. And you can find crappy ones or you can find good ones. And you can be a good patient for them, or you can be a crap patient for them. So that stuff matters. But it's not special or woo-woo or fancy or anything like that. It's really not a big deal.
No, it's not. And But I guess if you want to be a good patient and you want to heal yourself, you have to look at like what's going on with your therapist or your therapy, right? And so my therapist tried to teach me some stuff that I blew him off. I thought I knew more. I acted like I knew more. I was obstinate and angry a lot in therapy during our sessions. So
Sure. And if you watched a patient go to a doctor and act like they knew more and disrespect the doctor and give the doctor the bird and never show up for appointments, what would you think of this patient?
they don't want to heal.
Yeah. And would you expect any doctor to be able to help them? Right. So maybe the doctor keeps trying, keeps taking their money or something, keeps wasting their time.
Yeah.
But we all know what's up. Same thing can happen in therapy.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, how could I heal? How could I be better if I'm not willing to be open and healable? So,
yeah.
Wow.
If you don't respect the healer, what's the point?
Right. Well, then I guess we have our answer to my question. And, you know, the question was, to recap, does therapy actually work? And so there was a lot of answers in it, but basically what you're saying, if I'm correct, is that therapy works if you work it, and if you're a good patient and you're open and you're coachable, and if you have a decent therapist.
Yeah, those things are pretty important. If you want to heal your disease, isn't it important that A, you're a cooperative, respectful patient who follows the advice to the letter and takes the correct dosages? And isn't it also vital that you secure yourself a talented doctor?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's the same for healing the mind. It's the same for therapists. Similarly, it's the same for spirituality or religion or your shaman or your mentor or your spiritual guide or whatever. You gotta be open to the spiritual healing and wisdom and advice and their input. You better respect them and cooperate and apply their spiritual lessons and exercises and practices. And you also better make sure you find yourself an excellent spiritual guide. Both of these things are important to accomplish anything in life when you are collaborating with somebody.
Yeah, and if you're lucky, you have one in the same. I have a spiritual guide and a therapist and a lover and a husband and a business partner. I'm the luckiest girl in the whole world.
And I've helped heal your body in various ways.
Yes, you have. Actually, a regular doctor too, because when I woke up at 3:00 in the morning with the throbbing tooth pain, you guys, oh my God, I know this isn't about therapy, but you have to know this. This is how awesome this man is. My tooth is throbbing and I'm crying and I wake him up, and I never wake him up. And I wake him up and I'm like, help me. And it took how long?
6 minutes.
6 minutes to help me take away the pain using my thoughts. And you helped me. You were so great. Oh my God. You talked me down from the ledge. You asked me a bunch of questions. You helped me breathe. And in 6 minutes, I swear to God, it was gone. Like I was able to lay back down and go to sleep. Oh my God, forever grateful. And that's not the only thing. You've helped me with wrinkles and my boobs and my skin and my weight and like on and on and on and on. So yeah, you are amazing. I'm the luckiest girl in the world. Anyway, I don't want to go too far off. So I do have another question though, that you just inspired actually. So all it took for me was to see your video with RJ, right? You looked at the camera, said, F the past, and you started talking all these wonderful things. And I immediately knew that you were the one, right? You were the one for all of the things for me. But how can other people who aren't as lucky as me to just know immediately, how can they tell when a therapist or a healer or a life coach or a person that wants to help them, a teacher, whatever, is good at what they do before they actually like do all the things and invest lots of money?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Thanks.
Like I said earlier, to me, the best way is to immerse yourself in that world so that your mind and nervous system and intuition become accustomed and attuned to that world, and you're able to suss out who's good and who's not because you're experienced. But most people aren't going to do that. And so for them, the next best thing is to find a recommendation of someone they trust and someone else has done the work and vetted them. And, you know, like I said, that'll get the job done. It usually gets the job done. Most people aren't given a referral or a recommendation and then pissed off and like they were terrible. Usually it works out and they get the job done. But I'm just saying, if you have high standards, that's probably not going to result in the world-class person you want, right? And if you want a method of testing or vetting yourself, even after a recommendation or something, I would pay attention to the questions that the therapist or doctor or healer or shaman asks. Because if you were to line up all the therapists in the world and rank them on a scale of 1 to 10, and you had all of the top tier elite therapists on one side as 10s and all of the worst, like tragic, corrupt therapists on the other end as a 1, do you know what you would find about their questions?
They'd probably all be different.
Oh, they'd be very different. They'd be like, the amount would be different. The ones on the far corrupt end, the therapists who are 1s, might not ask any questions. Their questions will be like, do you have money? Can you show up tomorrow? Okay, cool. I'll help you. It's like, that's something a kindergartner could do, a toddler could do. Like, as a therapist, you're not assessing the situation or learning anything about the candidate or the target. You're not ready to refer them to a better specialist. You're not trying to find out if their issue is mental or physical or spiritual. Like, you've asked no questions and all you care about is money and will the person show up? It's like, this is a terrible therapist. If I was vetting therapists and I noticed that the therapist didn't ask me any questions about anything, I'm out, man. That is a bad seed.
Agreed.
And then the 5s might ask some of those questions, but they won't be that impressive. It's like, who referred you and are you committed? Would you say that this is related to your past, or would you say it's related to a traumatic incident? Like, they'll ask you some questions. I don't know.
Right.
Some average therapy questions, and it'll be okay. And the 10s will ask you like very particular things about their own methodology and yours, and like your story and your life history and your narrative and what you think the problem is and your best guesses. And they'll ask you things like, what's your definition of healing? And what would you call being fully healed? And how long are you expecting this to take? And like all kinds of, like, they would just ask more and better and more insightful questions. So this is it, man. Like,
yeah, because when I asked my therapist, when am I going to get better and heal? He should have said, well, when do you want to? When are you going to do the things to heal? But he didn't. He just said, never.
Right. So I wouldn't call him a 10.
Right.
But he might have been fed up after 18 years. But
I know.
Either way, like, the point is, a great way to vet people you are going to hire or work with or collaborate with is to pay attention to the kinds of questions they ask and how many and how often. And it doesn't just mean like the more the better, because if they're wasting time with inane questions, that's just as bad.
Yeah.
It just means be smart, be wise, pay attention and see how it feels. See what kind of questions they ask. And the same thing would happen with a mechanic. If you said, oh, my car is broken, and they're like, cool, bring it in, I'll charge you $1,000. It's like, what? I didn't tell you what's wrong. You didn't even ask. It's just stunning, right? That they ask no questions. But if you find the best mechanic, they'll be like, can you describe the sound it's making? Is it more of a, or is it more of a vroom, vroom? Like, and then you'll tell them and they'll be like, oh, that sounds like a 76 model. What year is your car? And it's like, holy dude.
Yeah.
Knows what's up.
Yeah. Yeah, true. That's you. That's what you would do in a therapy-wise session.
Thank you.
Example. Thank you.
I aim to ask good questions and the correct amount and, in a healthy way.
You ask amazing questions.
Thank you. But you ask for tips on how to find a good therapist.
Oh, yeah. I apologize.
And so that's my number one tip. Well, my number one tip is to immerse yourself in that world. Hang out on those subreddits, hang out in those communities, search those hashtags, follow those influencers, talk to them, like comment with them, see what they say. And that takes longer, and that takes time, and that takes energy. And we all live busy lives, and I don't want to engage that much with therapists, and I don't want to immerse myself in the therapist world. And it's like, fine, but it's still the best way.
Right.
But if you don't want to do that, then, get referrals or, get a recommendation from a friend and vet therapists on your own by paying attention to their questions. It's a really solid way. Or you can work some law of attraction magic and align your vibes and align the energy of your trinity of your mind, body, and soul, and intend to manifest an awesome therapist. And you might meet one on a plane or at a restaurant or a cafe, and serendipity can bring one to you. And then you skipped all of this. You didn't have to spend time immersing yourself in the world. You didn't have to vet them with questions. You didn't have to get a referral. You just manifested a therapist. So there's different approaches and different ways and different tips. Yeah, I hope that helps.
Yeah, it does. And you inspired another question.
Mhm.
So once we find that therapist and we're in the therapy and we're doing the therapy, y'all, not me, but when you're doing the therapy, how can we know if the therapy isn't working? Like, so we're not wasting our time 18 years.
Yeah, so like I said, you can only know if you're putting in a full effort. Because if you're putting in a half-assed effort, maybe the therapy's working, but your effort's not cutting it. And so now it looks like it's not working. Or maybe your therapist is putting in even less than half effort and you're putting in less than half effort and it's not working because of him and not working because of you. Like, the point is, you can't tell what's working or not until you cut down on the variables, until you know that you're putting in 100%. Because if you remove that variable and you know you're putting in 100%, then all that's left is
Them,
right. And so now you can know.
what they're putting in and what they're doing. Okay, no, this is good. This is super helpful.
Yeah. And it's unlikely you're going to pull it off in just one session because you can't tell if any skill is working after just one session. I could go out and try and cook something today and maybe the stove was broken and it failed. And so my first session failed. And if I get frustrated and fed up and I'm like, oh, well, then cooking doesn't work. And then I never try cooking again. I just wrote off an entire skill or discipline that could have benefited my life because the stove was broken, but I didn't even know. So you need to sort of be a bit committed and give something a real college try, like a real experiment. And so if I went to therapy, I would give 100% and try to heal and be a great student, a great patient for like, I don't know, a month, 3 months, 6 months, whatever felt correct or healthy to me before I decided it was working or it wasn't.
Great answer. Thank you. Okay, so then would you ever go to therapy?
I mean, I guess maybe I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good at this stuff and I help other people heal. But like I said, it's just like any other discipline. A doctor might be great at healing all his patients. It doesn't mean he never goes to see another doctor.
Right.
And a pastor might be great at healing all his flock, but it doesn't mean he never talks to a bishop or another spiritual guide or something.
Right.
For help or assistance or healing.
Yeah. Most therapists are in therapy.
Sure. I'm open to it.
I was just curious. I threw that in because I was wondering. I never asked you that before.
Sure. I don't.
I figured your answer was, I'm open to it.
Yeah. It hasn't been a major thing on the radar recently, but I'm open to it.
I love it. See, this is why I love you. I have someone in my life who's open to pretty much everything. And it's super nice. And thank you so much for answering my question. Well, I came with one, really. And thank you for inspiring more questions and answering my questions and for all your time, because this is the second podcast we filmed today. You are getting ready to go to Australia on Monday. Today is Thursday. So I really appreciate you taking all the time to film and do this stuff with me before you go. Well, I just have one final question. Do you have any final thoughts that you would like to share with our wonderful and amazing audience?
Yes. Because of the society we are born into, pretty much every single one of us has a significant amount of healing to do. And that healing occurs on 3 levels: the body level, the mind level, or the spirit or energy level. And just like if you had a car that was broken, you would do your best to find a good mechanic who will take care of it and help you and get the job done so you can get back to a fulfilling journey. If you want a fulfilling journey through your life, I highly recommend you collaborate with any quality healers you're able to find. And I hope that you raise this in priority enough to give it time and attention rather than treat it as some kind of chore that needs to be eliminated or fobbed off or delegated or something like that. Your personal healing is one of the greatest things you can ever apply yourself to. And it will manifest results in fulfilling ways in all areas of your life. It will help your money situation. It will help your family situation. It will help your relationship situation. It will help your health situation. Healing yourself helps every area of your life. And the people you look up to are the ones who have done the most healing in the most areas. And you're like, oh, that's so awesome. I wish I could live like that. It's like, yeah, because they bothered to do the healing. You didn't get to see it. They did it mostly in private. They found their coaches or their mentors or their healers, but they did it. And if you want to live like them, I encourage you to do it too. I believe in you. You got this.
And that's why our book and this podcast are called Eyes Wide Open. After today, you will know how to be a better patient in therapy, why your therapy isn't working or it is, and how to choose a therapist. And so now you can go to this video here, 5 anxiety lies that your therapist told you to help you improve your therapy if you are going to go, and to help you keep your eyes wide open.
Keep rising.